Will that be a permanent closure, Mr. Chairman, or is that just for the duration of this investigation?
It's hard to tell. It will be at least, I think, for the duration of the investigation. They've closed quarter 1, 4, and 6 are the ones that have been closed so far. And it's something we're going to take a look at. But I got to tell you, we see flights up and down those corridors dozens and dozens of times every single day.
Sure do.
And it's gone on for decades. So.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and certainly that has been noted by both the Secretary of Defense of the Transportation Department, Sean Duffy, as well as the president himself, Mr. Chairman. But we've heard a lot of suggestions as to what exactly caused this crash from those individuals, from the president specifically, who is associating it with things like DEI at the FAA. Given where the investigation is right now, is that responsible? Are these conclusions supported by evidence, to your knowledge?
It's hard to make and draw any conclusions at this point until the NTSB finishes their investigation. We'll have a preliminary report within 30 days, and then they'll give their final report, which will take a little bit longer. But it really hurts to speculate this early on when we don't even have all the data. They have recovered the 2 flight recorders from the airline, and they're still working to recover the flight recorder from the helicopter, at least last I knew. I don't think they had recovered it yet. But we're going to need all of those items, too, to help with this, to help with the investigation. But it's really hard to to speculate at this point whether or not it was, was it pilot error on the helicopter's fault? Was it air traffic control error? It's just hard to say, at least at this point.
Well, in a world of speculation that we are clearly living in here, Mr. Chairman, in the spirit of your answer, I wonder if you plan to help illuminate all of us through way of a congressional investigation. Will your committee be involved in an investigation into this crash?
We absolutely will. What's interesting is there will probably be some armed services jurisdiction as well, since it involved an Army helicopter. They'll probably be taking a look at it, which I'm on that committee as well. And then my committee will definitely be taking a look at this once we get more data and more information. I have my own personal opinions on what happened, but I warn people, let's not speculate until we have all of the information. And the NTSB is a very professional organization, and they don't put anything out unless it's factual. So, we tend to want to keep it that way.
Well, certainly. And as Joe mentioned, we are expecting a briefing from the NTSB just minutes from now at 5:30 p.m. Eastern time. Mr. Chairman, when we consider DCA and the DC airspace, which, as we've all had much discussion about in the last few days, is incredibly congested, other than closing that helicopter corridor, is there anything else that you might recommend that can help avoid these kind of problems in the future to help deal with the congestion problem?
I'm not so worried about the congestion, to be honest with you. And I've heard some people speculate that when we added slots, that created more of a problem, which it didn't. It didn't have any impact on this whatsoever. In fact, there's more room for flights in and out of DCA if we were ever to move in that direction. The helicopter flights back and forth, and of course, this was a training mission. They also move. They move personnel back and forth from the Pentagon across the city. They just do a lot. There's always helicopters flying up and down the Anacostia and the Potomac, but they're supposed to stay below 200 feet. So there's a hard ceiling there. And for whatever reason, it's looking like that the helicopter busted that hard ceiling, and obviously was in the flight path of the airline coming in. Of course, they were on glide slope. They were cleared to land. The pilots inside that aircraft would have been watching very carefully their touchdown point and the runway itself. They would not have been looking outside the aircraft, and they assume once they're cleared in that the airspace is clear.
Well, our viewers and listeners should know, Congressman, that you too are a pilot yourself, and you know what it's like to land an airplane in an environment like this. I just wonder, with that said, knowing that you have interfaced on a regular basis with the professionals in the air traffic control towers at our airports, if you have ever seen a lack of professionalism, a lack of competence that could have been prompted by DEI hiring, as the president has suggested.
It's hard to tell. There's been situations, obviously, and I think every pilot, runs into these, where there's sometimes, some non-standard verbiage that's used, or some things that you kind of question here and there. You can't really point a finger at what the cause is. Now, having said that, I have always been concerned for at least 4 years now, the DEI hiring throughout the government, not just in the FAA. And in transportation, but throughout the government. It's been a concern of mine for some time. Now, I'm not saying that this has anything to do with with this crash or the accident itself, but it's been a concern. It's a concern of a lot of members.
Well, you have less than a minute left, sir, but when we consider just the personnel questions at air traffic control, as well as our real problem here, the ability to get qualified people trained in an expeditious manner to get them in these jobs?
It is. And this is a highly technical, highly skilled profession. And we need the best people we can possibly get, doing the job. We need people that are able to stay calm in very tense situations and very tense environments. Some airspace is a lot more congested than other airspace, but we need the best people we can get. We don't need to be hiring people just based on the color of their skin or their gender or whatever the case may be. We need the best that test the highest on those aptitudes.